and welcome to Paragon of Play. I just damaged my plant. Hello and welcome to Paragon of Play. I'm your host Jessica Spice, and this is the third time I've attempted this intro because I keep punching my snake plant and damaging it. You think I'd learn to move it, but no. So Paragon of Play is the place to be if you're into early and primary education tips, research, and tutorials. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button. I think that's what YouTubers say. And ding-a-ling-a-ling, the little notification bell, if you want to stay tuned and get some more of that content in your phone screen. Okay, what are we looking at today? Today we are doing a little bit of a tutorial on how to make a breathing star. So a breathing star is something that I learned how to make in my first year as an early childhood educator in a kindergarten classroom. Our child and youth worker ran a program. I don't believe she created the program. It is a program that I think school board CYWs are trained on in our area. I believe it's called Fun Friends. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. Tell me in the comment box below. But throughout this program, students are given a variety of skills in order to learn how to, what would be the word? I guess to self-regulate and to be mindful and to be aware of their feelings and emotions in their body. This, I believe, was implemented before school board got into zones of regulation, or perhaps it was around the same time, but they're learning a lot of those same skills that you would learn in the zones of regulation program as well. And I came into the classroom near the end of the program. I came into the classroom halfway through the year that year, so I didn't get to see the whole program. But the day that we made these breathing stars, I actually don't think I'll ever forget that day. It was just such a successful craft activity that we were able to do with the students, and the tool was very well received by the students. So here is an example of a breathing star. So this is one that I just made with cardstock. So oftentimes when these are made, they will be made using file folders and cardstock. So this is one that I had made with cardstock just because I thought he was super cute. I decided to make him light blue with a dark blue background. It may also be because those were the only colors of cardstock I have. Oftentimes when this craft activity is made in classrooms, you'll see every student getting a yellow with a darker background color. But I don't think students should have to make a yellow star. I think that they should make their star look any way they want. And of course, that will also depend on the materials that you have available to you. So I don't know where you are, but I'm in Ontario, and so we were given the glorious surprise of finding out that we're going back to virtual after the March-April break. And so implementing this activity in your classroom will depend on a variety of factors. So I am on a virtual contract for the year. I knew starting off that I was going to be virtual this year, and our students from our school board received all the materials that we would be using for this craft activity anyways. So I know that my students have these items. We can't always assume that students have things like construction paper and markers or scissors or glue at home, and we absolutely cannot expect that they're going to go out and buy those things, especially not during a mandatory lockdown where they probably can't physically go and get those items in any reasonable way for them. So implementing this activity is going to depend upon confirming that students have these materials or knowing that these materials were delivered or supplied to students. So what are you going to need for this craft activity? You're going to need markers or crayons, any other coloring item. You're going to need 2 pieces of paper, preferably 2 different colors. You're going to need glue, preferably stick, and you're going to need a ciseaux. I implemented this activity in my virtual classroom, so I do want you to know you can do crafts and you can do guided activities like this through virtual. A couple suggestions I'm going to give to you is to already have a finished product on hand, like I did here. This may also be because I've recorded this video once already and it didn't work out, but there's my finished product there. And another thing I'm going to suggest when you are implementing craft or follow along activities like this in your virtual classroom, and you probably do this in your in-person classroom as well, is to have a couple versions that are kind of part way done. That way you are not super hyper focused on getting your own craft activity completed when you're supposed to be teaching the students how to do it, because you need to be engaged and you need to be paying attention to them and assisting them. So when I was making this with my students, I had a completed one. I also had a halfway finished one. And then I had a one where the star was already traced. That way I could focus on assisting my students with drawing a star. If their parent had not already drawn a star for them, we did suggest to parents that it would be a good idea ahead of time to draw the star for their child. And that way I'm just not super hyper focused on trying to draw my star, because it's probably going to take me 5 times to get a star that makes sense anyway. Along with ensuring that you are prepped on your end, you're going to want to make sure that your students are prepped as well. So stopping before your activity begins and talking them through all the materials they should have. Okay, we should all have markers or something else to color with. Everyone hold up your markers. You're waiting. Okay, little Timmy Tutu does not have his markers, so we're going to send him to go get those. You're going to make sure that they have 2 pieces of paper. Does everyone have 2 full-sized pieces of paper? We're stopping and making sure we all have that. Does everyone have glue and scissors? We're stopping and make sure that they all have those. Of course, before the craft activity begins, preferably the day before, we're letting families know verbally and in our Google Classroom stream. I don't know if you use Google Classroom. I quite enjoy Google Classroom. Now, if you had asked me in September, I think I probably would have had a different answer to that. I love Google Classroom. And so the parents have been reminded ahead of time what materials their students should have, and they've been given a couple suggestions for things that they could do ahead of time to prep and make the activity easier for their child. But of course, families are busy, and families are also struggling because, surprisingly enough, we're in a global pandemic. So you can't expect that everyone's prepped or that this parent drew a star ahead of time or anything like that. So we're stopping, we're taking time at the beginning of the craft activity to ensure everyone has the materials. Now, you watching, I would love if you followed along and made this with me, and that'll help you to better be able to understand how to do the craft activity. Again, when you're doing crafts or art activities of any sort with your students, or maybe even a science activity, anything like that, you should be doing it ahead of time just to be aware of any little extra explicit instructions that you need to give. Now, I'm using construction paper, even though it's not as sturdy as the cardstock. We could never assume that families have cardstock, and honestly, it'd be kind of expensive to buy cardstock for your student. I'm going to do mine with construction paper, less sturdy. It's a little bit harder to get the mouth popped out, but it still works fine. I think for being realistic about what materials can be available to our students, construction paper is going to make the most sense. So let's go ahead and make our star. So I have my 2 pieces of paper. First, I want to take the color that I want to use for my star, and I'm going to draw my star. I want to make sure my star goes from the top of my paper, where that top point is, to the bottom. Now, what I would probably do in the Google Meet is have a picture of my star on my screen for students who need to draw the star because they don't have a grown-up there to help them. And I'm going to remind them that your star does not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look exactly like the picture. As long as you have 5 points, with 2 touching the bottom of your page and 1 touching the top of your page, you're good. So I'm going to, and this is why I prepare a star ahead of time, because it's like, wow, what is a star? Okay. It's like a philosophical question right there. So I am drawing my 5 points. Wow. That is quite the star. If you are mailing out packages to your students, or they're having a package pickup at your school, having a star template would be very handy. So I have my star. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Scissor safety, be don't do this with the scissors. What am I doing here? We're modeling appropriate scissor use for our students. We are using our scissors with care. And being aware, of course, of the fact that for young children, especially this age group, there's going to be a variety in terms of the scissor skills that your students are going to have. Some students can cut out a star, no problem. Some students do not yet have that fine motor capability to do something like this, and that's very normal and okay. They're still learning, and they may not have the muscles in their hands, may not be fully developed enough to be able to confidently cut out certain shapes or even do curves and things like that with the scissors. So that is again why we're suggesting ahead of time to get the star prepped, because this could be difficult for students. So hopefully if a student is able to cut out the star on their own, hopefully they are doing that on their own, because it's kind of fun to, you know, think of a shape and then just make it happen. A sort of star shape, a kind of star, star-ish. I'm going to keep my scraps. We're always reminding our students to keep our scraps. We ask them to have a bag or a bin that they keep in their school area so that when we do crafts, they can save the scraps and use them later for other crafts. Saving the environment one craft at a time. Okay, this is a tricky step. So you're going to make sure that you're stopping after each step and checking in with your students, having them hold it up and make sure they're where they need to be. And again, that's why you're kind of prepping your craft ahead of time. So you're spending more time focusing on assisting your students than working on your own craft, because this is a pretty involved little activity for these little hands. So next thing this is my star. Okay, there we go. Next thing that you need to do is fold your star in half. So we're going to pretend that this is like its little head, and these are its arms, and these are its legs. We're going to fold it in half so his 2 arms and his 2 feet touch. And we're folding his head right in half. There we go. We have half of a star now. I can see 3 points when I'm looking at it. All right, so we have our half of a star now. And this is going to be another tricky part with scissors. So what you're going to do is about here, so kind of all the way past his head, just above his belly area is where you're going to snip. And I'll hold this up close, because this is going to become his mouth. So you go, remember, not all the way through, just a small snip. Just like that. I have snipped a mouth, but I don't need to open it up yet. Next, we're going to do some folding, and this is some folding that you have to watch very carefully for. This is another tricky step. What we're going to do is we're going to fold our star's mouth. So see where the line is? You're going to first fold up. See, you made a triangle. And then you're going to fold down. You're going to make another triangle. And he looks like a Pac-Man mouth. Do they know what Pac-Man is? I don't know if Pac-Man's still a thing. So they might not get that reference. You're then going to flip your star over. And you're going to push your fold back through on the other side. So now you have folded his little mouth on both sides. Then open it up, and you should see a little mouth that you can poke your finger through. At this point, it reminds me of Angry Birds, like with their cute little beaks. There you go, you've got a mouth. Next, you are going to fold your piece of paper, your background color. You are going to fold this like a card or a book. What's the thing people say? Fold it like a hot dog or a hamburger? I don't know if this is a hot dog or a hamburger, but now I'm hungry for barbecue. So you're going to fold it like a book or a card. And you're going to press down to give it a sharp edge And then you're going to open it up. And you'll have a folded line down the middle. And that's going to help you with the next step. Our next step is going to be gluing our star into our background. But you have to be careful. Do not, we're going to glue the back of the star. Do not glue the mouth. I would even have my students repeat that step back to me. I don't know if you know Cassie Stevens. Cassie Stevens was on episode 4 of my podcast. Please go back and watch that episode. I love Cassie Stevens. I love everything about her. She, I find often in her teaching videos, has students repeat things back, especially like in a rhythmical, like musical manner. So having students repeat back some of those steps is going to be very helpful in ensuring that they actually heard you and we're not just toning you out as you droned on. Do not glue the mouth. You just want to glue your 5 points. So I'm going to go ahead and glue mine. If you glue the mouth, your star can't breathe. And that sounds like a problem. So we just want to glue the points. I think it's been over a month since I've last recorded a video, so I'm happy to be recording again. There are several other videos that were supposed to come out before this one, but the editing was just too much. When I'm recording videos, I don't get hives, but my face gets this like weird thing happening where I become itchy everywhere. So I'm trying to record without extra lights, which is hard because it's not that bright inside of my house naturally, but I'm finding without having a big spotlight on me, I'm less itchy than I normally am when recording. And I'm not nervous when I'm recording, so it's not like they're nervous hives or anything. Anyways, I digress. Let's get back to this craft. I'm just saying I'm happy to be here with you guys again. I am going to glue my star into my card. Now I want to make sure he's right in the middle, so I'm paying attention to where my line is in my card. I'm making sure the tippy top of his head is going to line up with the top middle of the card, that his little feet are pointing to the bottom. So let's go ahead and stick our card in, or our star in the card. I'm going to press down to make sure that that glue is sticking. Press, 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 press. I should be able to wiggle my paper without my star coming off, and that's happening, so I know he's glued in nicely. I need to fold the card again now, just to make sure that the star is folded in there too, but this should be easy because we already have a fold line. Press, press, press. And you're going to open him up, and oh, his mouth is not moving yet. We want the mouth. Again, this is another reason why you need to have a completed version of your craft ready ahead of time. We want our mouth to move like this. So let's see how we make that happen. We are going to carefully, because we don't want to rip the paper, you're going to pop the little mouth out. Again, you're really going to want to stop here and check in with your students that they're keeping up. Once you've popped the little mouth out, fold the card shut. You're closing it shut with the little mouth open and folding it again. Now open it up. And the mouth now moves. It'll look like a little birdie's beak. Now we're not done there. Now is the decorating part. So of course I would invite students to decorate their star any way that they wish. So maybe they want to use markers or crayons, pencil crayons, maybe stickers that they enjoy, maybe glitter or sequins, dried flowers, whatever they want. So my star, I put him in like a little jogging outfit, and I put calm words, gave him eyes, turned him into a little person star. I also put arrows around to remind me about how I'm going to breathe 5 times when I'm using the breathing star. You can decorate your star any way you want. So at this point, I've been checking in with students along the way. I'm going to give them some time to start decorating their star, but maybe if you're short on time, you might want to invite students to then decorate their star during their asynchronous time. All right, I'm done decorating my breathing star. I've added some squiggles, hearts, stars, some clothes, some eyes to my breathing star. So of course, before you're doing an activity like this, you're teaching the self-regulation skill of deep breathing and focusing on the breath in order to bring yourself back to a calm state. If you're teaching zones of regulation, you could of course relate this to knowing and being able to recognize when you are in the red zone, the yellow zone, maybe you're in the blue zone, and using this as a strategy to bring yourself back to the green zone, and also being able to recognize within your mind and body signs that you're actually back in the green zone and you're ready to return to your activity. With this, you can teach your children to do 5 deep breaths, but perhaps you have a different strategy that you have already been using with your students, and of course you can kind of teach this any way you want, but I would be teaching breathing in and out, in and out. So the 5 points of the star, and as they're doing it, bending the card and seeing how the mouth of the star moves and using it as a reminder for how slow the breath needs to be in order to be effective in calming you down. But then of course, when you're all done, as a celebration of your learning, you can all do 5 calming breaths together. Maybe they're looking at their calming star while they're doing it, or maybe they're showing you their calming star while they're doing it. This is then a tool that, let's say you're in the virtual classroom, you reminded your students have like a tub or a bin or a learning bag beside them that they can even keep at their desk during the school day in case they feel that they need it. A lot of our students wanted to keep this in their bedroom, and that's okay too, just wherever it's going to make the most sense for them to have the calming star on hand to be able to use during the day. Hello, it's post-production Jessica here. I thought it would be important kind of at this point in the video to pop in and explain why we are making the breathing star in our classroom and why we should be teaching these self-regulation skills to our young learners. So as you probably know, as an early childhood educator or a teacher or whatever you are, children don't come equipped naturally right from the get-go with all of the skills that they would need to consistently self-regulate in a variety of situations, or to understand in which situations they would need to use coping and self-regulation skills. Young children have some skills which they naturally have just in our own human instincts, but overall we need adults that we trust to co-regulate alongside or with us. So as the adults, we need to empower children and equip them with tools and strategies to bring themselves back to homeostasis when something has dysregulated them. That is what self-regulation is bringing yourself back to the green zone. So we're making sure that our students, that our children understand what it feels like and what it means to be in the yellow or the red zone, and to have the skills to bring them back to green and to be able to recognize when they are actually, back to green. So we're making the breathing star as a tool for children to use independently as a way to self-regulate when they're kind of in a position or a situation in which they're able to self-regulate. So I just wanted to put that in there because I think it's important that you're not just doing this activity because it looks cute or something. If you're doing it because it looks cute, instead what you should be doing is open-ended crafts and directed exploration of materials. This activity has a purpose, there is meaning behind it, and there is teaching that does need to go alongside it. I'm in a painting shirt, by the way, in case you're wondering what this whole situation is. So please understand that there is a purpose behind this craft activity, and it should go alongside teaching about mental health and self-regulation. It is not just a standalone activity. Putting that in there. So I hope that whether you are in a virtual classroom or maybe you're lucky enough to be on campus, maybe you teach a childcare program, or maybe you're just doing this at home with your own child, I hope that you're able to use these breathing stars and use them as a tool to support your child in self-regulating. I hope to be back to regularly posting again. It all depends on my own self-regulation and how I'm doing. And I was even thinking of working on a small mental health and well-being or self-regulation unit that you can use virtually or in your regular classroom as well, making it through Google Slides for free for you guys. So if this video gets 100 likes, I will be releasing a free mental health or self-regulation unit for you to use with your young learners. If you have enjoyed this video today, please go ahead and share it on your local early learning group, or maybe with some other early childhood educators or teachers that you know, maybe some other parents as well, so that they can check it out too. All right, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful day or weekend or night, whatever you are, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you later. And even as adults, we are not always in control of ourselves. You should see me when the ice cream machine is down at McDonald's. I use my breathing star. Anyways,